Hey, it's John and Mike, brew-dudes.com, back for another year of homebrew and fun. Welcome to 2025. And this time of year, you know, after the holidays, people are, I don't know, taking stock into how much they've imbibed maybe over the last 6 weeks or so. So I know that dry January is a thing, and Mike's sort of saying, well, does it need to be dry? Does it need to be
drier?
Drier?
How about drier?
It can
January?
be drier.
Yeah.
So this is a low ABV beer.
Yes.
It is a brown ale.
Yes, sir.
All right. So tell me more about the story behind the story of this beer, and then you can tell us.
So what I wanted to try
story.
to do for the month of January is practice and explore brewing techniques around making low ABV beer. And trying to figure out what works for flavors, just still having a relatively flavorful beer. You know, it's not going to still be a 5+% flavor beer, but having something that you would feel good drinking, you still get some craft beer character, but you know it's lower ABV, so you know if you're trying to slow down post the holidays, here it is. So there's some critical issues to still make flavorful beer when you're trying to brew low ABV. How am I defining low ABV? These beers I'm going to brew, I'm attempting to keep them all under 4% ABV. So 4% is cool, but if I can even get it into like 3.5 range, I'm not interested in trying to make, you know, these Franken NA beers, whatever, on the homebrew level. I just don't like how those come out, and I don't like the idea of using yeasts that don't ferment malto triads because you still just have a lot of sugar in there, which creates bloating, whatever, right? Yeah. So I want to have a fermentation, but I want to use things like recipe design, mash regime, yeast choice, and we'll talk about that hopefully through the month. So
I see. Okay.
Here we go. So brown ale,
starting
baby.
off, yeah.
So I love a good brown ale.
Yep.
So this was a challenge. This was sort of like the first test beer and doing the low ABV thing. So let me give you the basic recipe. 3.5 gallons, and this is 76% Maris Otter, because that's a really flavorful malt, right? So you can't just drop your American 2-row into something like this, right? Then it's 8% crisp pale chocolate, right, which is about 225 love. It's 8% Crystal 40. Then it's 8% Victory at 25 love. So it's 76% base malt and 24% flavor malts. The other thing I used too was I used our tap water, 50% with then really low mineral content spring water, because I know our tap water has a fair amount of chloride in it anyway. And I want to be able to make sure that you've got some sort of something in there, right? So there's that, right? So a little bit of lactic acid and then some gypsum just to help out the whole profile. This thing only got 10 grams because I knew it was going to be low ABV, so you got to be careful with your total IBUs. This is 10 grams of Nugget, right? It's not really, I wouldn't call that a neutral hop, but in these applications it works out pretty good. So the total IBUs for the beer is about 33. I mashed this thing started at 156 for only 45 minutes. So a slightly higher mash temp, and then immediately ramped to 168. So trying to avoid that lower end, the 150, whatever, that beta amylase part of it. So trying to leave some residual non-fermentable sugars in there, 1 for flavor, 2 for body, and also just to give me that cutoff and whatever. The yeast in this was S-04. From Fermentis, because I know that you know, typically has like a mid-range attenuation, right? And then, so the original gravity in this baby came out to be 1036. It fermented down to about 1015 for an ABV of around 3.2%. So there we go. So that's the recipe. So that's the recipe, and that's the beer. Nice. Color on this thing, beautiful. I think I hit the color. I mean, it has got that just past amber type of thing. So in that brown camp. I think some of my brown ales lately have come out a little bit too brown. Yeah. So this one I was pleased when the color came out. I really, this reminds me of like drinking Newcastle. Yeah, stuff like that.
Newcastle. Well, on the nose, getting some of that Maris Otter. Certainly pale chocolates there too. Yeah.
Yep. And I think the Victory. I think it's all
the Victory. Yep. So that's that, and yeah, it's funny. taste these beers. I'm like, it's kind of watery. It's really light.
Yeah, it's light.
But the Nugget, oh, well, yeah, then the malt, the Crystal 40s coming through. A little bit of the biscuit from the Victory, and then some subtle chocolate notes from
Yeah.
pale chocolate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's nice, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really surprised on this one, without drinking it, the aroma on there is actually pretty standard. It's not like a thin aroma. There's like a definite, almost coffee nut aroma on it, which makes me go, oh, okay, this is a normal beer. This is a brown ale. It's presenting to me as a brown ale. And I think that the overall, the amount of flavor is a little bit subdued. So I think I would definitely shift and not be afraid to ramp up a little bit higher those specialty malts just to drive a little more flavor in there. But I don't find it to be insipid. It's not like super thin. I think the liquid part of it has enough beef that it doesn't feel thin. So I think that part of the mashing worked. It just could have a little bit more flavor, but that's the challenge with low ABV beer. So
Yeah, sure.
but I think it still drinks and feels relatively dry and is fairly drinkable compared to just the fact it's only about 55, 60 something % attenuation.
Yep. Tastes like a beer you drink after a run, you know?
Yeah.
Some of those road races. And even like Sam Adams, like they did some kind of beer that was, made for, the Boston Marathon. I think, just really low ABV and, whatever. But this is something that would go down real easy after some strenuous exercise. Sort of a lawnmower beer, but a little more flavor than that.
A little more flavor than that. Yeah. So you think it fits the bill for the goals?
Yes.
What I was shooting for? Yeah. So we'll see. I got a couple more styles, a couple more recipes that I'm going to learn from each one of these, that I'm sort of tweaking it as we go here a little bit. But I think this is off to a pretty good start.
So your next step is to try to brew a beer, maybe boost some of those specialty malts to bring a little bit more flavor to the party.
So this beer was 76% base malt. I already know that the next beer is 70% base malt. So the rest of
look
it.
at
And
you.
I'm bringing in another malt that's a body building malt.
I see.
So we'll see what happens in the next beer. It'll be a different style. But,
Yes.
But that's the take.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I think that.
And then later in the month, there'll be a couple really challenging styles to make low ABV and not feel like you're drinking malted water. That's what I'm trying to avoid, malted
Trying to
water.
avoid that,
I
yeah.
find this to be actually light and enjoyable. Like this is something you just drink it and be like, yeah, I had a beer, and I'm not overly thinking about it, whatever. I am intrigued, but I'm surprised how well the aroma comes out. I do really like the aroma on this one.
I think that's really great.
Yeah.
I think I'm just used to drinking my smoked porter. I think that's what the
That's
issue
true
is.
too.
Yeah.
Yep. Still
Like,
dreaming of
I didn't
smoked porter.
didn't mean to insult your beer by saying it was watery. Just drinking my own stuff over my house. Okay. Well, I'm down for
Drier January.
Dryer January. I'm down to get on the Dryer January train. I can't wait to see how this progresses in terms of experiments. How many beers are we going to have? 5 of these for the whole month?
I think January actually has 5
A
Wednesdays
lot
in
of-
it.
yeah.
Maybe that last Wednesday, I've got a 12% beer. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe that last Wednesday,
Bring out the ice
we'll
box
see
again.
where we end up. Maybe we'll recap Low ABV Brewing Techniques or
Okay.
something. We'll see how it goes.
See how it goes.
This month's going to be an
I
adventure.
might have a few beers too, but you never know.
Absolutely,
You never know.
absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, all aboard the low ABV train. I just coined it, so you know it's going to take off. This is a fascinating experiment month, and so, it doesn't have to be dry. It can be less wet. Is that it? No, just I ruined that too.
Some people don't like that.
No, people don't like that at all. I could say the word moist and people would be like, oh, you're ruining everything. Nobody's watching after this. I'm so sorry. Well, stick around. There's going to be more experimentation here on the Brew Dudes channel, and maybe less of my talking, more grunting, as people say. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. We do this kind of thing every single week. All aboard the low ABV train. John and Mike, brew-dudes.com. Brew on.
Cheers.